Wait, there's one more detail just in the merch line. So he texted me saying like he needs cash pretty badly. Is it possible for us to pay him like the proceeds earlier? And so I was like, yeah, no stress. Like I'll pay you now. Like we kind of sold a certain amount, not enough. Like we said, once you sell this amount, like we'll pay you the proceeds, but we paid him off earlier from that just because he said he needed cash and he promised I'll promote them all. Yeah. And like he didn't, but it's not the point. Like we essentially paid him out early, the proceeds, right?
Yep.
Fast forward a few months from there, I think it was kind of the start of this year. I suppose the communication with me and Brock, that like there wasn't anything bad at this point, but it had probably died off a little bit. And he sends me this message where he Snapchats me and he goes like, oh, like, can I ask a favor for you, man? I thought it was just like, oh, can you like duet something or comment on something or share this on your story? And I probably would have been happy to do it. But he actually sends me an Instagram message, a pretty damn long one at that. And by the way, just a little interjection here. Everything we're talking about in detail here is like, we have the screenshots to provide.
Yeah, it's factual. We can back it up.
But the other stuff that has been alleged, we will not be going into detail. We're only talking about the stuff that has happened to us, and that's the facts and things we can definitely prove with the screenshots.
Yeah.
So he sends me this very long message, very long, heartfelt, kind of a sad story. And he goes, like, I'm so stressed out at the moment. I've got all these money issues. I've got like rent to pay. I got bills to pay, and I like don't have any money. Basically, and he's like, I know this is like a really uncomfortable thing to ask or something along those lines. But like, would you be able to lend me some money? And I said, like, to be honest, I've been asked by people for money before, and for me, it's like the most uncomfortable thing ever.
It's nothing worse.
I remember a little sidetrack here, so I'm probably going into too much detail, but I met this guy in Sri Lanka and he was an absolute legend. I loved him. And then like a few years later, he messaged me about how something in his family went wrong and he needs money. And I don't know, man, like it's so awkward for me, and I feel so bad because I don't know if it's dogged by me, but like I just feel so uncomfortable because it's not like a family member or someone asking me for money. It's like someone I've met this bloke for like 2 days.
Yeah.
And he's, I don't know if it's like,
no, I totally agree. Well, I mean, firstly, I would never give anyone money who I haven't met personally, but we'll get into that in a sec. But yeah, it's an uncomfortable thing to go through, and it's almost harder to say no than it is yes.
Yeah. So I don't know, for me, it just felt so uncomfortable, but I did feel really bad for him because I understand that, like, I did come from a good education and I was pretty money smart early on, made good investments early on, was good at saving, and I had built up quite a bit of wealth, and the amount he was asking for was, let's say, insignificant, but maybe it could have helped him out a lot. And I remember consulting all the people close to me. So I consulted you, I consulted my family, I consulted my ex-girlfriend, who was my ex-girlfriend at the time, but I was still very close to her, and we'd often communicate just on important topics. And all of them said, like, no way, never like loan anyone money, especially if you haven't met them. Like, there wasn't a single person who said, like, loan the money, essentially. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, exactly. I think I spoke to my parents about it as well, and they said definitely don't do it, and tell Gab not to.
Yeah. A few days had passed, and I'd done some thinking. I was like, you know what, stuff it. This is my money. No one makes my decisions. He's a good mate of mine. I want to help him out. It might really, like, relieve him and de-stress him. And so I transferred him the money, like, damn quickly, OSCO payment. And he was extremely grateful, extremely thankful. He said, let me know if you want me to do it or like any favors through social media. And I said, no stress. And the specific terms were, I would transfer you in 7 days, 1 week.
And this is where it begins.
So it ends up being 2-3 weeks pass. And I'm like, because I thought, you know, it's only this amount of money. Like, I'll give him another week. Like, it's no stress, right? Like, to be honest, if I ever got into a position like that and I had to ask you or another friend for money, I would be transferring 2 days earlier just because I'd want it to stay between you and I wouldn't want any more dramas from that. Like, weeks upon weeks had passed messages upon he'd like ghosted my messages, like would take ages to respond, and then he'd be like,
yeah, he'd like avoid the message but also upload on social media, and you and I'd be conversing like, mate, what is he doing?
It got to the point where like we were pretty close with Prime Train as well, and we were telling Prime, and we're like, mate, what's going on here? Just because like I was feeling like I was getting stuffed around, and and I really want to stress, like, it's not about the money, it's about the principle. And I just felt like, mate, I was getting angry.
Yeah, so he kept avoiding you, kept ghosting you.
Yeah.
You'd send him a message. What were the kind of responses he'd give?
So, like, there'd be breaks, and I'd be like, mate, there'd be like 7 messages in a row from me being like, question mark, like, are you there? And I could see he's like uploading on social media. I'd Snapchat him, I'd Instagram him, I'd text message him. And I'm like, yeah, I just felt completely stuffed around. And like it got to the point where he was like, hey man, I'll transfer you right now. And I'm like, can you send me a screenshot? And he wouldn't reply. And then a few days later he'd be like, oh, I'm with Bendigo Bank, like it takes ages or something. And it's like, mate, everyone's got OSCO payment now. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, do you think I was born yesterday? Like, I've literally got a degree in finance and economics. Like,
it was almost comical in that, like, it's exactly what you would be scared of happening if you were to transfer someone some money.
And when that happened, I was like, regretted it so much. I'm like, man, I never should have transferred him. Like, honestly, like, yeah, I just felt really disrespected, really unhappy. And I remember telling you guys and just chatting to you because, like, I need to chat to my mates about something that's really annoying me.
We're in it together.
And my parents were like, just accept it. Like, you've lost some money. Like, it's just this amount. Don't let it stress you. But it was the principal, man, that was annoying me. I'm trying to think if there's anything more to add to that. So it ended up being a few months passing,